These 6 things does Yahweh hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look. Whoa. A lying tongue. Hands that shed innocent blood. I'm thinking of abortions when I read that. A heart that devises wicked imaginations. Feet that be swift in running to mischief. A false witness that speaketh lie. And he that soweth discord. But I see too much of that. I confessed at the start of the service. Many of you weren't here. I don't want you to misunderstand. I know the guests have not been here for a while. But I confessed that I myself was the problem because I allowed people to come and not come into the service, but sit back out there in the fellowship hall and to carry on conversations, sometimes so loud that we could hear it up here and picked up on our televised program there. And we had women going back and doing the things that men are supposed to be doing. Any corrections to be made is to be done by a brother in the service, not women. And that means women over women. Just one of the little things that we're going to be doing straight, trying to do right. I've asked the ones that want to have conversations to go out in the under the pavilion and have their conversations out there. We don't want to run them off. We don't want to tell them they're not welcome. We just don't want to disturb the service. Mothers with children are exempt. But throughout the feast days, I'm going to be teaching and carrying forth the things that I'm talking about today. Some people don't like it when I don't speak. We have others here that are capable of speaking. You may not like them. You may not like what they believe, but they're capable of speaking and bringing forth Yahweh's word. Not always going to be exactly the same thing that I say. I'll soon be 84 years old. And I do need help. When I've been sitting down and I first get up, I have very little balance. After I've taken 10, 15 steps, I begin to get some balance. I'm praying about that. Sign of old age. I never intended to get old, you know. But I cannot use old age as a excuse to say, well, I'm retiring. When did the Apostle Paul retire? When did when did when did Ezekiel retire? When did they start saying, I'm old now, so I'm not prophesying anymore? Or I'm too young. Jeremiah tried to get away with that. It didn't work. I'm really looking forward to a good feast. And we can have a good feast if we come together. And if some of you will just turn loose and begin to worship and praise, you'll feel the same thing that I'm feeling. You know something? Back in the early years of the 20th century, out in Los Angeles, California, there was a place called Azusa Street. And they were a bunch of people there that come together. And listen, they were well within the limits of the 390 years. So I'm not saying they had everything right, because I know they didn't. But they did have some things right. They began to praise, and they began to worship. And they began to speak in tongues and prophesy. And they praised and worshiped so much that the building just about rocked. And the people started saying, what's going on down there on Azusa Street? And it got to a point where you could not get anybody in the building. Same thing that happened right here. Just turn loose and let him take over. Until you do that, you'll never speak in tongues. You'll never prophesy. You'll never feel it as long as you're in charge. As long as you're in charge, it'll never happen. Turn loose. The first thing you're going to have to do is forget about what anybody else says or thinks about it. What people are going to think about me. There's going to come a time when each and every one of you will be called up. Make an accounting. And if you cannot say, I have kept the will of the Father, he told me when he first called me to speak, to preach, he said, I want a people that will worship me in spirit and truth. He told me, he says, this people that you know where you've been, they like to worship in the spirit. Just don't want the truth. And you're going to another people. Oh, they love the truth. They love to hear it. They love to read it. But they don't want anything to do with the Spirit. And I'm telling you right now, that unless you can worship Him in spirit and truth, you're going to come up short on that. You know what the Spirit said this morning? I spend a lot of time talking to him. And he said, you know why? He said, I should have bought a little child at birth. He said, up there. He said, unless you can be like this child, you cannot enter into the kingdom. You know why I said that? Because the child doesn't care who is around and who sees him. When he gets happy, he shouts, dances, praises. Better start learning to be, because you're going to come up short. And I'm not going to come up short by not telling you. Be honest with me now for a minute. How many of you leap for joy today? What? No one? No one leap for joy today? Isn't that what it says? Did I read it wrong? If you don't like how I'm preaching, you better find somebody to preach the way you like it. And there are plenty of them that will. Hallelujah. Stand with me.